Lees instead of Mr. Kamal. And you saw the felicitation names.
If he comes, he'll sit here. Well, even if he will speak, we'll call him to speak.
So I will have to remove.
Let's remove him here, but just let them know the time of the situation. Why? So shall I tell you tell him here? Because otherwise, if too many people are giving them instructions.
That's it. It's not I want to speak. So wait. One more WhatsApp.
Yes, Tabam Sarkar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, very much shortly we're going to start. We're just waiting for one more person and then hopefully we will start. Just give me 2 minutes if you don't mind. Morning. right. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm really sorry for keeping you waiting for some time, but before we start, if you don't mind, just take a couple of seconds, if possible, to put your phones on silent so that we don't have a little bit of the interruption. So I'm just going to give you a second just to switch on silent mode. And thank you very much for your cooperation and understanding. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Bassam right here, and eventually and hopefully we're going to have a very great morning and talking a little bit about what's happening here today. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests from Afrix Bank, our media friends, ladies and gentlemen, as well as our virtual audience, a pleasant good morning to all of you. And it gives me a great immense to be here today and welcome you all to the Intra African Trade Fair 2023 press conference. As we welcome you to this press conference, which will discuss on driving trade and investment in Africa, connecting companies to the African markets. We are delighted to have you all gathered under one roof to engage in this insightful takeaways. The African Export-Import Bank, in collaboration with the African Union and the AFCFTA Secretariat, brings you the third Intra-African Trade Fair to be hosted by the Arab Republic of Egypt. IITF 2023 will provide a unique and valuable platform for businesses to access an integrated African market of over 1.3 billion people with a GDP of over US $3.5 trillion, created under the African Continental Free Trade Area. We would like to encourage you, all of you, of course, to register today to attend the event. I assume there was a board in the outside, which will start between 9 till 15th of November in Cairo, Egypt. To register, please visit www.interafricantradefair.com, and we will now play a little bit of a video that we're going to show you a little bit more about the whole trade and an example about what we're expecting from that trade and in the future. Please.
Africa's premier trade and investment event in Cairo, Egypt, IATF 2023, is expected to attract over 1,600 exhibitors from more than 75 exhibiting countries and over 35,000 attendees, and is expected to generate up to $43 billion in trade and investment deals. IATF 2023 will once again consist of a trade exhibition where countries, large corporates, as well as small and medium enterprises can set up pavilions and exhibition stands, which will enable them to customize their exhibition to fit their unique requirements. This offers private and public entities opportunities to showcase their goods and services. Trade and Investment Forum, the 4-day conference, will feature leading African and international speakers and a variety of sessions dealing with African trade and investment issues. Specifically, the conference will feature dedicated sessions on trade and investment opportunities under the AFCFTA and will also include trading workshops covering exporting, standards, and marketing. Creative African Nexus platform will showcase Africa's creative economy in fashion, music, film, arts and craft, sport, gastronomy, and culinary arts. The CANEX program will include a Creative Africa Summit and dedicated creative industry exhibition, a B2B and B2G platform. The platform will provide opportunities for matchmaking, business exchanges, and conclusion of business and investment deals. This is supported by a dedicated African Buyers program. Country Days has sponsorship opportunities and is open to 4 countries. It presents a platform for the 4 selected countries to showcase their trade, investment, tourism, and cultural opportunities. IATF Virtual. This platform showcases goods, services, and investment opportunities on an interactive online platform. The IATF Virtual is currently live and will continue even after the physical trade fair has ended. The Africa Automotive Show will present a platform for auto manufacturers, assemblers, original equipment manufacturers, and component suppliers to exhibit their products and also interact with potential buyers and suppliers. It consists of an auto forum, auto show, and B2B and B2G exchanges. The AU Youth Startup Program will have a dedicated pavilion for youth startups in Africa, where they will showcase their innovative ideas, prototypes, goods, and services. The IATF will provide opportunities for matchmaking with venture capitalists, entrepreneurship training, networking among the youth, and other delegates at the trade fair. The IATF 2023 Diaspora Day will highlight commercial and cultural ties between Africa and its diaspora, featuring a diaspora summit, market and exhibition, cultural and gastronomic showcase. IATF 2023 will provide a unique and valuable platform for businesses to access an integrated African market of over 1.3 billion people with a GDP of over 3.5 trillion US dollars, created under the African Continental Free Trade Area. The African Export-Import Bank, African Union Commission, AFCFTA Secretariat, and the Arab Republic of Egypt invite you to join us from the 9th to the 15th of November at IATF 2023 in Cairo, Egypt. Intra-African Trade Fair, connecting African markets. For more information, visit www.intraafricantradefair.com.
Thank you very much. That was a splendid video, and really looking forward to see you all, hopefully and inshallah, in Egypt this November. For the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a Q&A session that's going to happen at a later stage after our dignitaries are going to come up on stage and they're going to do their speech. So we would love for everyone to have a choice of asking those questions, and if you'd like to take your notes, you're more than welcome to do so. At the same time, for everyone who's watching us online, you have even the choice online to write down or text it down, and then I will read it out. I have my colleagues who are going to give me the questions, so don't worry about it. We're going to give you the chance, even while you're watching us all the way from Africa or in Egypt, you will have the chance to even ask your dignitaries. For the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, to officially kick off the ceremony, please allow me to introduce our amendment speakers to the stage to take their seats. With no further ado, please welcome His Excellency Hamed bin Salem, Secretary General of Federation of UAE Chambers of Commerce and Industry, up on stage. And of course, I'd like to welcome Mr. Khalid Al Ali, Regional Director, Africa, Dubai Chambers. Please welcome Mr. Walid Harib Al Falahi, Chief Executive Officer, UAE Trade Center. And finally, of course, please welcome Mrs. Kanoya Awani, Executive Vice President, Intra-African Trade Bank, Afrix Bank. To begin with our keynote speeches, may I invite the first speaker on the platform. Please welcome His Excellency Ambassador Sharif Isa. He is not here with us today, but definitely we're gonna move forward, and I would like to invite His Excellency Hamed bin Salem, Secretary General of Federation of UAE Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to deliver his remarks. Please, Your Excellency.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. English or Arabic?
You can do it in English and translate.
Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Okay. Huh? English is fine. ها؟ كل واحد. كل واحد عربي انجليزي I'll speak in English. I'll speak in English. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have you here in the UAE. It's really a pleasure to be with you today here to witness the partnership between the African establishment and the UAE. We're always looking forward to collaborate with Africa. And as you all know, the future is in Africa. Africa with 30 million square kilometer with 1.8 billion population and with great opportunities all over the continent, all over the African countries. I have myself visited many of the African countries, and the development we have seen and noticed in the last few years are very outstanding and very futuristic approach they have to develop the countries. And everybody else in the world right now is looking and focusing, and the direction is Africa. We are here as the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry. We facilitate for the private sector. With our my brother and good friend Walid called me to attend this important event. We are always supporting the UAE company and the African company to get together and to develop a potential collaboration that will be rewarded and benefited to the people of Africa and people of the UAE and the region. We are facilitating for the private sector, as I just mentioned, and we are looking forward to facilitate for the African companies to come and work in the UAE and to use the infrastructure in UAE to reach out all the world. As you know, we have the airports in UAE, Dubai Airport, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, and we have other Fujairah and Ras Al Khaimah also, and the ports, Dubai ports and DP World and Abu Dhabi ports and other ports of the UAE. They have established in the last few years a very well connected network throughout the whole world, and by having a state-of-an-art network when it comes to the shipping and the logistic, I think this is what the world is looking for now. Is easy to find a credible companies and a credible establishment for the world, for the supply chain, because as you have seen 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when the pandemic hit all over the world, the supply chain was one of the most important things to keep the flow of trade and the connectivity of getting goods all over the world. We are the Federation of Chamber of Commerce, and if there is anything we can do to help and to support the African companies, while the one who is already established their business in the UAE, or the one are watching us now online who's thinking of coming to the United Arab Emirates or using the facilities and the logistic and the benefit and the infrastructure of the UAE while even they are still in Africa, or to have joint venture with the companies in the UAE. I thank you very much and wish you a fruitful day.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And now I would like to welcome Mr. Khalid Al Ali, Regional Director, Africa, Dubai Chambers, for his speech.
I wouldn't call it a speech, but I'll try to welcome you back, guys, again to Dubai, in particular, and UAE as an overall. The key word over here is Africa, and I've heard everybody says Africa is the future. I don't think Africa is the future. I believe Africa is the presence. And not only that, I believe Africa is humanity's last hope. We run out of space and we run out of time. And the continent is our last reset button to have an opportunity as humanity to work together and bring the best out of us. His Excellency, Mr. Hamed said, our ability as a logistical city, people who've been doing caravan business since God knows when. We've been doing this business. It's in our DNA. We've been moving goods from the days of Jesus. We know how to do that. We know how to do that very well. From the back of camels to an A380 and larger ships. From a small port that was doing ration supplies in the Emirate of Dubai that nobody knows about to running 88 ports around the world. That's only Dubai. We're not counting in Abu Dhabi, which is coming in very, very strongly. And our commitment to the continent is very, very clear from our first office that we've opened 10 years ago in Addis Ababa to represent us in the Horn of Africa. Now we stand at 7 offices in Africa. This year we've launched 2 offices, one in Lagos and the other one in Johannesburg. And next year, again, one more office to represent the Francophone countries and give it more focus. Africa for us is a market that has a lot of challenge, but because it has challenge, in challenge we find the opportunity. We're all here to support each other and do what I call the business of partnership. We are not there to invest, we are there to partnership with. We look for the people who complete us. And a partnership of equals where we both side of the aisle compete each other. Adding more to what my colleague, His Excellency Hamed said, our commitment to the continent is very, very clear. It's not on a podium of speech. DP World, for example, is building a railway between Maputo and Zimbabwe. They're raising their sleeves. They're not just sitting on the port saying that that's my work, that's my job, I'm sitting at the port, I'm taking care of it from over here. No, they're building railways. That shows what kind of commitment you have towards the continent. We know that the abundance of the continent needs 2 things: logistics and the ability to transform that abundance of wealth into a capital repatriation. And I think with our colleagues from the banking industry, we're in the right hands. We need to sit together, work hard, understand what we need, and I'm sure the joining of minds over here will create a lot of good and wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid. That's totally not a speech at all. Well said. Thank you. And to add on this, truly what you said about Africa, it is the future. I believe in that. I've been in Kenya. I was talking to the colleagues, and I've been seeing a lot of humongous progress happening over there. And well done to all of you. Good job. To continue, I would like to invite Mr. Walid Harib Al-Falahi, Chief Executive Officer, Dubai Consultancy Co. LLC and UAE Trade Center, for his remarks. And within his words, ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna really get to know and to understand the significance of his partnership and its potential for driving positive change. So please welcome Mr. Walid on stage.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. I mean, out of almost 25 years journey in Africa, I think I consider myself in some way or another an African in the work and the mentalities. I gone through project infrastructure to e-commerce to this, and honestly what you hear about Africa is the stereotypes of Africa. It doesn't exist. There is some, I don't know who's this guy, but okay, seriously. I brought my son just for him to understand. You need to grow them from a young age. You need to give him that vibe element. But honestly, I'll tell you from a perspective of someone who worked there, from project perspective. Everywhere there is issues, but it's not what is being painted I think someone is benefiting in painting that element about Africa. But Africa is very great place to start a business. It's really a great potential for people who looking at infrastructure, looking at opportunities. We as UAE Trade Center, we are a private initiative with government roots in it and support. And what we aim for is to help UAE company penetrate to Africa. We have present now in Kenya. We are establishing a present in Ghana, and we felt honestly. By the way, this is not my show. It's Mrs. Keneyo's show, so I'll be very specific. The reason that we partnered with Afri-Exim Bank, they invited me to an event in Ghana. So I said, this is another event, I was very impressed by who's who was there in that event. The level of people who came, the level of seniority, the level of opportunity, and Mrs. Kennedy, also we got some business out of your event, so really thank you very much. So I feel that it's a great organization, well run, business oriented. Also the fun part, also most of African countries, they have their money there, so that makes it very secure partner to work with. They have different initiatives. We chose to support the bank and their initiative. The exhibition is one mandate to help facilitate trade within the continent, and we feel that this is something that for UAE is an ideal opportunity for us to penetrate, for us to work through the bank, through after all entities, AU, but the bank has a professional method of doing business, which is very easy for you to partner in order for you to enter Africa. What you need, what you need in Africa is the right partner who guide you and the right partner who help you penetrate to project finance, project, etc. So I really appreciate Ms. Keneyo and her team being here today, and also we need to encourage our UAE company to look at such opportunity, because it gives us exposure to Africa, it gives us opportunity to partner, or at least understand how to penetrate to that Africa. Later on also Mrs. Lazan will share with you a perspective of our partnership with the bank on building clusters of information, clusters of partnership that we aim to work with the bank through. Again, thank you very much. As I said, this is not my show. I'm only a trustee there. So Mrs. Keneyo is the chief guest. She will share with you the vision of the bank, what they aim for, and the event, etc. But I really thank everybody here. I see familiar faces, I see friends, I see partners. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walid. As Mr. Walid said, and he already stated, and he did already the welcoming of Mrs. Kanoya Awani, the Executive Vice President of the Intra African Trade Bank, Afrix Bank, to come up and tell us a little bit more about the insights and, of course, about the impact and doing business and attracting investments to Africa. Please put your hands together and welcome Mrs. Kanayo.
Thank you, MC. Good morning, everybody. Let me start by acknowledging the President of His Excellency Humaid bin Salem, the Secretary General of UAE Chamber of Federation of Chambers of Commerce. Let me also acknowledge Mr. Khalid Ali, Regional Director of Dubai Africa Chamber, and of course my brother, Mr. Walid. Thank you so much for organizing this forum. I'm glad that you came for our 30th anniversary in Accra, and you could appreciate the moment. Captains of industries, chief executive officers, representatives of the UAE business community, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this press conference, and I dare to be different. I noticed that everybody read unscripted, but I think I have a lot to share. Needless to say that I'm acutely aware that many may not know about the bank, talk less of what we do, or about the Intra-African Trade Fair for that matter. So please oblige me. The trade fair, we have themed it Connecting African Markets. And as you may be aware of, we had the third edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair. We hold in Cairo at the Egypt International Exhibition Center and Al Manara Convention Center from November 9th to 15th this year. So today's press conference is to provide you all, especially the business community, with critical information about the fair, its relevance to transforming Africa, and our regional integration ambitions, as well as strengthening business connections between Africa and the United Arab Emirates, especially in attracting investment goods to Africa. One of the main expected outcomes of this program is to empower the people of UAE with information on the Intra-African Trade Fair, its importance, its role in supporting African integration, and the success of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the benefits to the UAE public and private sector, and to serve as a rallying call for the full participation of the UAE business community, the UAE government at the trade fair in Cairo this year. But I'd like to start by setting the context in which we conceived and championed intra-African trade. Many will wonder, what does a bank, a GFI, have to do with trade fairs? Well, let me remind you all that in 2013, African heads of state and government adopted Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. We wanted it as a blueprint for transforming the continent into an integrated, prosperous, peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens, and eventually representing a dynamic force in the international arena. So among the first flagship projects under Agenda 2063, as it is popularly called, is the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area to stimulate intra-African trade and advance economic integration. The historic agreement establishing the AFCFTA, as the acronym, was signed in 2018, entered into force on May 30, 2019. So far, the AFCFTA has been ratified by 47 African state parties, and trading under the AFCFTA commenced on the 1st of January 2021. It has created, as you heard earlier from the Master of Ceremony, the largest free trade area since the creation of the World Trade Organization, at least by number of participating states. United as a single market, the FCFTA creates a market of 1.4 billion people, a combined GDP of over 3.5 trillion. It makes it the fifth largest economy globally in terms of GDP. The FCFTA promises to revolutionize trade, reshape markets across the region, and boost output in manufacturing and services sectors. If you are aware of the structure of African trade, you'll understand why this is so important to the continent. It will fundamentally transform Africa's economic structure and reduce Africa's reliance on export of primary commodities and raw materials. The FCFTA will also break down the artificial barriers and borders that have divided the African continent for too long. It offers an opportunity to shake off once and for all the shackles that have held the continent back, including market fragmentation, lack of economies of scale, reliance on the export of primary commodities, underdeveloped regional value chains, and I dare say supply chains, tariff and non-tariff barriers. Distinguished guests, as we gather this morning, the collective task at hand is to explore opportunities on how Africa and the UAE can work together to fully support the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. through various means, central being attracting investments into the African continent, as well as creating business connections between the UAE exporters of investment goods and the buyer counterparts in Africa, as well as exchange trade and market information and technology between the two regions. We at Afrexim Bank are proud to be contributing to the positive history of African integration and development. We are at Afrexim Bank, I'm able to say, at the forefront of supporting African trade, and we have developed several financing and facilitation instruments to support trade and investments actually since our 30 years of existence. We have disbursed over, if I may say, my memory serves me, probably over $80 billion just within the last four years, between 2018 and 2022, to support African trade. We also look forward to partnering with financial institutions, not just the corporates in the UAE, to provide trade and investment financing support. I mentioned about developing financing and facilitation instruments, but please allow me to mention a few of those. We have developed what we called the Afrexim Bank Guarantee Program, AFGAP for short. The bank offers a variety of guarantee products designed to support various needs of contracts. They range from the short-term ones to bonding facilities, including EPC contracting guarantees, to medium and long-term guarantees designed to support investments, projects, as well as trade-enabling infrastructure in markets experiencing challenges in Africa. The guarantee program, in providing a comprehensive suite of risk-bearing instruments, help to de-risk African transactions in order to make them more attractive to investors and financiers. For instance, our investment guarantee program provides guarantees that cover foreign direct investments. Actually, it also covers Africa direct investments. But the purpose of this is to protect investors against risk events that may impair or hinder your investment rights or earnings. These include transfer restrictions, expropriation, nationalization, which in which the investment is made, and other specified government actions that may hinder investors from normal operations, repatriation of profits, for instance. We have a guarantee to support the government's commitment to project promoters. The bank offers this guarantee to support African governments' commitments to project promoters, to provide investors further assurance that African governments will meet their commitments to projects. We also have our project finance guarantee. This is offered mainly to support trade-enabling infrastructure in Africa, such as ports, airports, as you already mentioned here, toll roads, power, telecom, among others. The projects of this type often involve high risks due to uncertainties inherent in the environment, extended time frame of completion, scale of project, technologies, and what have you. In some cases, banks and other investors are unwilling to invest in these project types without a guarantee or some sort of credit enhancement. This is where Afrexim Bank comes in to provide the guarantee solution as required. Let me also talk a little bit about, this may also interest the financiers here, the banking community, about Afrexim Bank Trade Finance Facilitation Facility, which is designed to enhance the confidence of counterparties, such as the UAE exporters, in the settlement of international trade transactions, including LC confirmation with optional discounting and refinancing, bank-to-bank reimbursement undertaking, promissory notes and bills of exchange, avalization facility, trade confirmation guarantee facility. The benefit to banks in the UAE is that they can take more risk on African banks. They can also mitigate non-payment risks in Africa. As Afrexim Bank is an investment-grade multilateral institution with strong shareholding structure, with preferred creditor status in all its member states in Africa. And just Africa, but also in 11 Caribbean island countries that have recently joined the bank. So we forayed from Africa to the Caribbean community. Afrexim Bank will offer you a contract and tool manufacturing facility. This financial solution is aimed to support manufacturers who have a contract or tool manufacturing order that require capital equipment to expand their manufacturing capacity. It is also available to support customers who require funding to manufacture certain products using either a contract or tool manufacturer. So you can use a tool manufacturer in Africa and get support. In the same way, we also offer contract agriculture. The financing is aimed at supporting agri-businesses and companies who have contracted or are contracting out to African farmers. This financing will monetize a contract that the provider has commenced or is still negotiating in order to receive financing that it can use to fund the agricultural activity or other critical activities necessary to complete the contract. As I move on, let me talk about our industrial parks and export processing zones initiative. We are facilitating the emergence and expansion of industrial parks, export processing zones, or special economic zones, focusing on light manufacturing and agro-processing. The need to do that stems from the fact that Africa, understands that it has the resources to be able to produce goods at home. Not only that, it also has the labor. So through this initiative, the bank is acting as a catalyst to industrial development in Africa by addressing hard and soft infrastructure constraints that are inhibiting industrialization. Afrexim Bank we have disbursed about 700 billion to facilitate the development of inside the fence and outside the fence infrastructure in industrial parks in Gabon, Benin Republic, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, while advancing pipeline deals of over 2 billion in Chad, Malawi, Botswana, Kenya, DRC, Zambia, and Nigeria. The special economic zone, and I'm going into detail because I think I might have information that may interest potential investors in these zones or interested in partnering with the bank in developing them. Special economic zone in Gabon is a multi-sectoral industrial park of over 1,000 hectares producing high-quality wood products. The one in Benin, in completion, will be about 2,000 hectares, and it focuses on agro-industry, cashew, cotton transformation, especially apparel manufacturing. But it's also open to other agricultural sectors, pineapple, markets, gardening, and other industries such as fertilizer, construction materials, or consumer goods. While the industrial park in Togo involves the development of a 400-hectare integrated industrial and logistics park that is primarily focused on processing cotton, cashew, soybean, and providing warehousing and logistics services. Cote d'Ivoire will also be agro-processing as well. So we are seeking investments and tenants inside the fence as well as outside the fence. And by outside the fence, I mean development of things like technical schools, healthcare facilities, construction of access roads from the zones to major roads, housing facilities, among others. We would therefore like to partner with investors in the UAE to develop industrial parks in Africa, and to also work together to invest in the industrial parks as well, supported by the bank and its partners. I'd like to mention at this point that our investments in industrial parks stems from the fact that we are also a promoter. I'm not just talking about project finance, but we are also promoting industrial parks as promoters and equity investors through our Fund for Export Development in Africa, which is a 100% subsidiary of the bank that is focused on impact equity. As I move on, let me also inform you all that the bank has embraced emerging opportunities and has seized the moment to develop capabilities to leverage digital technologies as both an enabler and driver for innovation. The growth in the bank has witnessed over the last 10 decades or so has not been restricted to what we have traditionally delivered in terms of products and services. Some of them I've already highlighted. The evolution also precipitated the early recognition of the effects of digital disruption on economies, industries, and the way we live and transform the way we live our lives, and therefore the transformative nature of the industrial revolution technologies. So we at the bank are now leveraging and orchestrating digital interventions that tackle many of the continent's key challenges and structural barriers to trade. Our flagship project is what we've called the African Trade Gateway. The African Trade Gateway is your gateway into a definitive digital ecosystem made for Africa's trade, supported by the Afrexim Bank and the AFCFTA Secretariat, in collaboration with other partners, and it's aimed at addressing the needs of businesses, governments, and stakeholders by enabling trade, commerce, and investment. It has a number of platforms. There is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. The Pan-African, we call it PAPS. It was endorsed by the African Union Heads of State and Government to facilitate trade settlements in local currencies. PAPS will help the continent to save about $5 billion in transaction costs every year. It will also facilitate intra-African trade under the AFCFTA. For example, an Egyptian exporter to South Africa will be able to receive payment in Egyptian pounds, while the South African importer will be able to tender payments using South African rand. PAPS is being piloted currently in the West African Monetary Zone and also being extended now across the continent. We have about 9 central banks onboarded, 72 commercial banks, and 7 switches that have joined PAPS. Another platform under the ATG, the African Trade Gateway, is MANSA. It includes a customer due diligence repository. It has over 11,000 institutions onboarded, eases cost of conducting your know your customer checks for African corporates, and facilitates trade, African trade. We encourage financial institutions, corporate regulators, businesses, governments to subscribe to MANSA for your know your customer checks. As I move on, let me talk about Trader Club, which is another platform for trade information and trade regulations. Intelligence. It is a gateway through which exporters, importers, and investors can access curated trade intelligence and advisory services to support their market expansion decisions and network with other businesses. The platform can help UAE companies interested in doing business in Africa or invest in Africa to have access to information on investment opportunities in Africa, as well as trade and investment regulations in various African countries. It provides insights into African supply chains and connects importers, exporters, and investors to opportunities in an easy-to-navigate web-based format. It enhances transparency in African trade and investment through robust technology, alternative data, and dynamic data visualizations. Our trade regulations solution provides a centralized digital source of regulations and legislative requirements for all trade and investment activities across Africa, thereby reducing the costs and risks associated with doing business in Africa. On this program today, there's going to be a signing of an MOU on Trader Club between Afrexim Bank's Trade Intelligence Solutions and the UAE Trade Center. This platform specifically deals with the information gap and information challenge that we have so often heard about being an inhibition to UAE Africa trade. For instance, the African Trade Exchange is another platform. It's a digital marketplace to support the implementation of the AFCFTA. It has recently been repurposed to assist African countries to deal with shortages of food and fertilizer arising from the Ukraine crisis while supporting the AFCFTA implementation. ATEX, as we call it, is operational. It has about 1,600 buyers and sellers. It has onboarded about 192 products on the platform. Several UAE companies are already onboarded on the ATEX platform in the various sectors: agricultural products, construction, and fertilizers. We believe that the ATEX platform represents a huge opportunity for UAE companies as they stand to benefit greatly from the initiative of and also to support their trade with Africa. I have talked a lot about lack of access to trade and market and investment information previously. But that's one of the reasons intra-African trade is low, at 16%. It is not equally a key reason why UAE Africa trade is low, albeit fast growing. So in order to address this challenge, Afrexim Bank, working with the African Union and other strategic partners, launched the Intra-African Trade Fair in 2018 as a key initiative to support the AfCFTA. This trade fair, as you may have seen in the video, is held every 2 years to connect buyers and sellers across Africa, as well as investors to investment opportunities within the continent. It addresses access to trade and market information, as I mentioned earlier. And the partnership model we have ensures that it is now the biggest platform for African public and private sector interactions in one gathering. Our partners are cross-cutting, aside from the institutional organizations in Africa, but we also have partners such as Islamic Development Bank, so as partners for the trade fair. They are members of the ITF Advisory Council, as well as BADIA, the Arab Bank for Economic Development for Africa. We held a resoundingly successful first trade fair in 2018 in Cairo. It was followed by an even more successful one in Durban in South Africa the first one was in 2018, and the Durban one was in 2021. Collectively, those two exhibitions brought together more than almost 3,000 exhibitors from 77 countries and generated over 74 billion in deals. It provides a glimpse of the immense potential that exists. In terms of overall participation across all verticals of the previous two editions, participants came from around 130 countries globally. Building on these successes, the third edition we hold, as I mentioned earlier in my beginning of my speech, we hold in Cairo in November. It will again provide an opportunity for exhibitors to showcase their goods and services, engage in business to business, B2B, and business to government exchanges, and conclude business deals, which will ensure that the momentum toward greater intra-African trade and Africa trade is sustained. I did already mention that it is the biggest platform and convening of both public and private sector African businesses in one gathering. If you want to do business in Africa, it is the place to be. So with our partners, the African Union Commission, AfCFTA Secretariat, as well as the host government of Egypt, the Government Arab Republic of Egypt, IATF 2023 promises to be bigger and better. We are aiming to have more than 1,600 exhibitors from over 75 countries at least, and 35,000 participants from all the 55 African countries and the rest of the world, including the diaspora. We expect to generate trade and investment deals worth over $43 billion. It will also feature a world-leading trade and investment forum. It will be a platform to showcase Africa's enormous creative talent through a creative African Nexus program. It's a platform to showcase our automotive ambitions in the automotive sector. So there's going to be a dedicated automotive forum. As you may have also seen in the video, it's also a youth startup entrepreneurship program. So we're taking the IATF to Africa and the world also, because we have a virtual trade fair that runs at the same period and even extends beyond, that mimics the physical trade fair. It will also allow products and services to be exhibited virtually, and give potential to clients in a digital environment for those who are at the trade fair and those who cannot make it. It will also take you through the process of how to register and take up exhibition space as part of this important event. IATF will also have a hosted buyer program, In our meetings here in the UAE, we have seen the very keen interest to participate in IATF by firms as buyers. The Buyers Club at IATF will enjoy special privileges. We therefore call on the governments of the United Arab Emirates, the UAE Trade Center, business chambers of commerce, and associations to provide support in terms of mobilizing the UAE business community to participate and take advantage of all that the IATF has to offer. It is a unique platform for UAE businesses who are looking to invest and to access an integrated market. A large one at that, 1.4 million people, GDP, as already mentioned, of over 3.5 trillion US dollars. So my cry on call today is that the government of the UAE and organized bodies, such as those led by the panelists, to sign up to the country program or the country pavilion, or even a country day opportunity to be able to take full advantage of all that is on offer at IATF. As I close, I invite also you all, as sponsors and exhibitors, buyers, delegates, and visitors, as we work together to realize the vision of an integrated and prosperous Africa. I've heard it several said that Africa is not in the future. The opportunities of Africa is now. It's in the present. I agree with you. I'm optimistic that UAE will be strongly represented. It is a physical trade gateway you need to facilitate trade and investments with Africa. You need to come to see it as a platform. You need to come and see for yourself. So we look forward to seeing you at the biggest trade show in Africa. And my heart's call is that you don't miss the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kanoyo. Really inspirational, and of course, a well-informed information for all of us, and definitely we're looking forward to be there. Really, we're listening in the back of the stage, and I'm even listening to the translator even at the same time by Arabic, and surely everything it's like a super wow, all information that you gave us, and I really salute you to what you're looking for and what you've been and where you're going, and looking forward for more. So well done from our side. Thank you. With that said, speaking about all the initiative and the whole idea, we'd like to hear from you, ladies and gentlemen. So media, you're more than welcome to raise up your hand, stand up, mention your name, give the question out to our dignitaries right here, and you're more than welcome to get your questions. So I'd like our assistants to assist. So if you got a question, please raise up, stand up. خد المايك تعال أكل المايك. Here.
Why do I need to hold this?
You can just give it to someone who wants to ask a question, whoever raises up their hand. Oh, there you go. There's one gentleman. Yeah, there you go. Well done.
السلام عليكم. أنا فاروق فياض من جريدة الخليج. سؤالي لسعادة أستاذ حميد وخالد وأستاذ حارب. بالأمس القريب كان في اتفاقية بين دولة الإمارات ومصر لتوريد قمح بقيمة 500 مليون دولار كائتمان صادرات أو كائتمان تمويلي. هل ممكن تعميم هذه التجربة على دول معينة في أفريقيا عن طريق الأفريكس بانك؟ شكرا.
I'll just give you a mic.
تعميم تجربة تقديم الائتمان المصرفي إلى مصر بقيمة 500 مليون دولار لتمويل توريد القمح، هل ممكن تعميمها في الدول الثانية في أفريقيا على هذا
سؤالك جميل وذو شقين. بالنسبة للتعاون دائما ما بين دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة والدول الشقيقة العربية مثل جمهورية مصر العربية دائما في مجالات كثيرة، ليس فقط في ضمان القمح أو أي يعني موضوع يجد في الساحة، ولكن تعاون مع كل الدول العربية الشقيقة مستمر في مجالات عدة. أما ما يتعلق في هل إن كان في تعاون ما بين دولة الإمارات وجمهورية مصر العربية الشقيقة، إن كانت الفكرة والعملية يعني الشراكة ناجحة أكيد تعمم على دول أخرى لكن كل دولة تحتاج احتياجاتها تختلف. نحن ما نقدر نقول أن نفس التجربة بالضبط اللي هي موجودة بين دولتين معينتين أنها تأخذ كوبي بيست لدول ثانية. الحقيقة يمكن هم في البنك بيجاوبونك أكثر في عملية، لأن اللي سمعناه نحن من الشرح الوافي اللي كان قبل شوي أن البنك مهتم، بنك الصادرات والواردات والتصدير والاستيراد هو يعني يدعم جميع الانشيتيفز والمبادرات اللي هي تكون في أفريقيا بالشراكة، سواء مع جهات أخرى وشركات أخرى ودول أخرى أو بين شركات أو دول أفريقية. كل المبادرات هي تكلمت الأخت رئيسة البنك عن كثير من المبادرات، تكلمت عن دعم حتى أبعد من الدعم الاقتصادي، أن دعم إنشاء المعاهد والمدارس ويعني التعليم والصحة. فأكيد إذا يعني نحن نتمنى دائما أن هذه الشركات تركز على الميزة اللي موجودة في كل بلد. كل بلد تختلف. أنا زرت مثل ما ذكرت في الحديث في بداية كلمتي، زرت عدة دول أفريقية، كل دولة تمتاز بجاذبية مختلفة. حتى نفس لما نتكلم عن السياحة نفسها، السياحة كل الدول حتى الدول المتجاورة كل دولة لها ميزة معينة. ما في شك أن أفريقيا تزخر بالموارد الطبيعية اللي موجودة في أفريقيا، وخاصة التي تدخل في الصناعة المتطورة جدا وصناعة التكنولوجيا القادمة والمستقبلية. ما في شك يعني أن أفريقيا من أكثر الدول الأفريقية وقارة أفريقيا بشكل عام أنها يوجد فيها جميع المواد التي يبحث عنها للصناعة المتطورة جدا موجودة في أفريقيا. بالشراكات هذه ما بين دول الأفريقية والشركات اللي موجودة الآن تعمل في أفريقيا والشركات الأخرى، وتبادل المعرفة ونقل المعرفة، أعتقد بيكون للمستقبل الصناعي المتطور، وأفريقيا سوف تلعب دورا أساسيا في هذا المجال.
I think His Excellency has actually answered it. As far as the UAE engages with African countries, Egypt, and even the non-Arab countries, we're able to support. I think that's a simple answer to your question. Even as a bank, we're promoting what we call the Arab Africa Trade Bridges Program, working with the Islamic Development Bank Group and Badia. And that is to promote trade and investments between UAE and African countries. So the simple question is that we're able to support as long as the engagements occur. UAE Egypt, UAE Rwanda, UAE Kenya, through the initiatives already discussed, and even more. Time did not permit me to talk about all the suite of products we have. I didn't talk about our equity. I just talked about it on the side. I didn't talk about our project preparation facility, which helps to bring projects to bankability, which we finance. So we're able to support with a menu of trade products financing and facilitation instruments. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's take another question from our guests. If anyone has a question. I think we have one more. There you go. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning. My
Morning.
name is Anish, and we are a client to Afri-Exim Bank. Firstly, a warm thank you to all the panel members for such a wonderful session.
Thank you.
My question is, Afri-Exim has been a pioneer to help and develop with African communities, Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And UAE, particularly Dubai, continue to play a prominent role in facilitating trade into Africa and the exports facilitating from Africa to various international markets. I think there is a need to think about developing how we can extend a similar free trade agreement or a free trade area that will involve UAE as a market, that will allow more harmonious relationships and the facilitation of trade between Africa and United Arab Emirates and to the international markets. This is more for Madam Kanayo, but for rest of the dignitaries as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Anish. Anish works. We didn't say which company is a client.
This is ETG.
ETG, the Export Trading Group. I think that's part of the conversation. You know, so my simple answer to that is that the government of the UAE should come to the trade fair, because I did say it's a convening of public sector and private sector. But seriously, the AATB I talked about, the Africa-Arab Trade Bridges Program, envisages that when we talk about deeper economic integration between Arab countries, of which UAE is one, and Africa. But we have to start. You know, we have to start by increasing the trade, albeit it is fast growing. I think UAE will be one of the top 5 trading partners of Africa today. And it's a conversation that we can begin to have about how to explore a free trade agreement between both regions. That's Africa collectively already, you know, instead of in different countries, and reduce the fragmented nature of the engagements today.
I think UAE is already in that process of discussion. His Excellency Dr. Thani, as you, the Minister of Foreign Trade, and His Excellency Wankili Mene, the Secretary General of Africa, AFCFTA, had several meetings already to talk about how they can work with each other, how can they discuss forms of trade agreement, etc. But you have to bear in mind, when you do these type of agreement, it's not only one country. You're talking about 54 countries that you seek their approval on trade barriers, trade regulation, etc. There is some progress, hopefully, inshallah. There is also a committee that is being done. Detail I don't have, but there is progress is happening. But how far is it? I have no idea. But there is that connectivity that already started, and discussion have started already.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a question, or can I take the questions from the online viewers? Anyone? Okay, I have a question from the online viewers. Mrs. Kanoya, this is Maimbolwa Mulikelia, Managing Director from Zambia, and she's saying, how significant is the 3rd Intra-African Trade Fair to the Sub-Saharan African region in broadening access to financing?
So we can take all the questions.
Okay, all right, here we go. And I have another one from the East African, Ivan Mugisha. So the question is, the East African region is considered one of the fastest growing regions in Africa. I would like the IATF organizers to explain how the IITF 2023 Trade Fair will help to promote the integration of the East African region into the global economy. And finally, shall I continue, madam?
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, from Business Weekly Zimbabwe, Kudzania Sharara, the question is, since IATF is a pan-African B2B cross-sector trade fair, to what extent can we expect the participation of global players and those in Dubai in particular? That's it.
Let me start with the last question.
Okay.
And I think it may also address the other questions. It is a Pan-African event, right? But it is open to global players, and I did speak about investment goods. So the structure of African trade today is characterized by, one, export of primary commodities, raw materials, in some cases African products, whether it is in mineral agriculture, are not even raw materials yet. They're very primary. If you think about cocoa is not a raw material for anything. So there is need for value addition, right? Secondly, due to our colonial legacy, the structure of our trade today is also directed to our historical, trade flows, even including the infrastructure routes. There is a need also, and the opportunity that exists is also to diversify the trade. And that's why one of the reasons we're here today to speak to the UAE community is to say, because we know that there are investment opportunities, there is the need to import investment goods into Africa. Even if we want to add value to cocoa, for instance, we need the manufacturing facilities, the equipment. Even if we want to integrate through rail and road and other forms of mobility, we need the contracting expertise that may not exist today. We need to be able to have options, and that's the reason we're opening it up for, we say that global players are invited. We cannot, and it's also a platform as we promote intra-African trade, to begin to get linked into global trade. The other question is how significant it is to broaden, or AITF to broaden access to financing. And that's the reason I talked about the deals that we have done. I said between the first edition and the second edition of Intra-African Trade Fair, first in Cairo and Durban, we have concluded about $74 billion worth of deals. Those deals, what we do as Afra-Exim Bank and ranking as one of the major syndication experts, on deals in Africa, is to finance those deals where there is financing required. Those deals on the continent, and also it's also a form of business development for the bank, for African businesses, and for non-African businesses who are interested in financing African trade. It will definitely broaden it. When we do the B2B exchanges and the twinning, and bringing matchmaking and supporting, providing an environment to matchmake buyers and sellers, investment opportunities. I already talked about de-risking them through guarantees. But importantly, it's important to know that we also finance them, not just providing guarantees, but we also provide funding, credit, trade and project financing to some of those as a bank, and we're also able to leverage our position to attract other financiers and on liquidity into the projects. Our mandate, and it's a specific KPI of ours, is that for every $1 we leverage 4. The other question is to promote how ITF is to promote the integration of East Africa region into global value chains. I think I already answered that in promoting industrialization of our continent, in attracting partners to support the value addition. In fact, our interactions with with the Arab countries under the Arab-Africa trade bridges is specifically linked to industries that involve high-skilled labor. And in doing those, we are able to not just import investment goods, but we're also able to export products of Africa to the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, of course.
I think it's very interesting and even enlightening for me on the subject of Arab-Africa trade bridge. I think DP World and other organizations in UAE been working on what you call bringing hubs together. You know, the terminology of hubs, people think Singapore will compete with Dubai, Dubai will compete with Jubail. It doesn't work like this. Hubs actually can work together very well. So I think I will try to link the guys in Egypt, the head of DP World, because they are working already on trade bridge connectivity. And I think that can add a great value because these hubs have same synergy where they want to grow business and they have logistics superiority, they have stronger infrastructure. So it will help the movement and the flow of goods much faster. So I thank you very much. We get something out of your answer. And I think this is something for us to look how can we convert it into a working product for us. So.
I assume Mr. Khalid want to say something.
Just to reiterate on something I find very, very important, adding value to the products of Africa. We keep talking about raw materials, we keep talking about the basket of the world, but if we're not going to add value right now, we're going to run out of time. In 2051, out of 4 people going to be walking this planet is going to be from the continent. The continent is not there just to support trading with the world, but also support trading with it within its own ecosystem. If you look at Asia, we have 4 or 5 geographical zones that enables you to produce. Most of Asians, for example, produce rice, and most of Asians produce cotton, and we share almost the same climate in the larger part of Asia, but inner trade between Asia is very, very strong. When we look at Africa, we have more than 13 different eco and geographical zones, from farms to cattle to mining to ports to desert to timber, and it's abundant. So the continent, ironically, is not trading within itself. Ship a car from Addis Ababa to Kinshasa, it's going to cost you $5,000 US. That's the before supply chain challenges. Ship the same car from Addis Ababa to Tokyo, from Tokyo to Kinshasa, it's going to cost you $1,800 US.
Wow.
So DP World, again, Harb is bidding in the right place. We're not just bidding on Africa trading with the world, we're bidding on Africa trading with Africa. That's why we're building railways, because we know where the future is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Out of BRICS conference, that officially have been UAE, Saudi, Argentina, Iran, and Egypt have been invited officially to be official members of BRICS. I mean, okay, what they're going to call it as a name, that's not my responsibility. Yeah. But you can see that new economies are developing. And as Mr. Khalid said, we work with Africa, we work with other countries to build win-win situation. It's not us. And I just want to quote, yesterday we had a meeting with His Excellency Abdullah Al-Saleh, and he said, we talk business after, but first we want to know how can we help these African countries. It's, the thinking in UAE, I'm not going to Africa to conquer Africa. We're going to Africa to work with Africa. How can we share the best practices here? How can we help our brothers and sisters? Ladies and gentlemen, we have history with Africa.
Big time.
You know, we have relation with Africa. Some families are already married to each other with Africa. So Africa is not new for us. They're our brothers and sisters. So the vision that the government has. How can we work with Africa? How can we help Africa rise? How can Africa become the major economy that is supposed to be? So that's the vision of the government as well on this matter. I really thank you for your support.
Thank you very much, sir, Mr. Wali. Thank you very much. And really, I from my side, been here in this country for 42 years. Yeah, I know. Born and raised. I'm typically local. مبين شوي. But of course, seeing what UAE used to be and what it is right now, from the growth and the expansion and everything, is a real deed to really think about it, and how the government really think and how they expand. And to add on exactly along with Mr. Walid, it's not only about just doing the stuff and conquering the world. No, we are helping, and we are assisting, and we are taking the advantage of technology, what we're having here, to expand to the world. Is that right, Mr. Walid? Sah? In that way, in that metaphor. And I really salute you from my side, my families, and everyone, to the UAE, what it's doing, and now expanding all the way again to Africa and all that. So from my side, and I guess from the crowd, a big applause to all of them, if you don't mind. There you go. With that said, about the conquering and all that, we'd like to facilitate a little bit. It's a small ceremony. I would like to invite Mr. Walid Harib Al-Falahi from UAE Trade Center to give a memento to Mrs. Kanoya from the bank, from the Intra African Trade Bank, Afrik Bank. Please. That's a very nice memento. Going back to the old days, how the trading used to happen. صح؟ And of course, thank you very much. In the same time, in return from the bank itself, from Mrs. Kanoya, to all our lovely dignitaries right here, a great memento. Yes, yes. There you go, another memento from Mrs. Kanoya from the bank, all the way to His Excellency, to Mr. Khalid, and to Mr. Walid.
I want your speech more than this. President, you had a lot of information.
I'll give it to you.
As a bank is all.
I'll give it to you.
By the way, he's ex-banker.
Once a banker, always a banker.
I know.
HSBC.
Okay, good.
So, a great memento to His Excellency Hamad bin Salim, Secretary General of Federation of UAE Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and of course to Mr. Khalid Al Ali, Regional Director Africa Dubai Chambers, and to Mr. Walid Harib Al Falahi, Chief Executive Officer UAE Trade Center. A big thank you from Mrs. Kanoya Awani, Executive Vice President, Intra African Trade Bank. Yes, a group picture, of course. Janice. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we move further with a high-level collaboration through signing of the agreement between Afreximbank's Trade Intelligence Solution and the UAE Trade Center. And this pivotal agreement aims to strengthen the network of African Trade Support Institution Corporation. May I request everyone please to have a seat again, if you don't mind, just for us to do the signing. As a key enabler, the bank is seeking to establish broad-based partnership with the UAE Trade Center through the signing this cooperation agreement. The agreement seeks to propagate the Trader Club solution in the market. So with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing it right now. The signatures is happening. That's the first phase right now. 24th August 082023. Marking it well. And now the exchange is happening for the signs. There you go. Shall we say congratulations? Yes, please. Can I have all the delegates, if you don't mind, again, once again, for a group photo along with the signatories? Your Excellency, Mr. Khalid, thank you. Mrs. Khan, yes. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your valuable time and participation for the press conference. And before we leave, we have a final remark. We have a final closing remark from Gwen Moaba, Director and Global Head Trade Finance, African Export-Import Bank. Please, Ms. Gwen.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please take that all protocols have been observed. It's my great pleasure and honor, on behalf of the management of Afrexim Bank and our Executive Vice President, Mrs. Kanayo Awani, to thank you all immensely for taking the time to be here with us today. And to the Excellencies who joined us on the press briefing panel, a special thank you to you for taking time out to share your insightful remarks with the delegates that were attending today's event. And Mr. Walid, to you in particular, the facilitation, the hospitality, the warm welcome to the UAE has not gone unnoticed. Thank you very much. And to those distinguished ladies and gentlemen who joined us in the room today, and those of you who are streaming in online, we thank you also for taking time out to participate with us and listen to what Afrexim Bank has to offer through its programs and facilities, and in particular through the IATF 2023, which is holding in Cairo. Without further ado, I'd just like to say we certainly look forward to welcoming you all to Cairo in November. We'll be looking out to see all of you there. But in the meantime, for those of you who are here, if you have any questions that you would like answered, myself and other members of the team will still be around in the foyer outside. So please do approach us if you would like to know more about Afrexim Bank and the Intra-African Trade Fair. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. As said, to close up, again, to add on, please don't forget to register for the Intra-African Trade Fair in Cairo in Egypt from the 9th to the 15th of November, and surely we would love to see you all over there. For the meantime, we would request for all the UAE companies to wait back for the networking session with the Afrexim Bank delegation that will take place in the same room. And for the rest of the media and everyone, we thank you very much for your time. Little snacks in the back, you're more than welcome to enjoy. A big thank you to His Excellency Hamad bin Salim, thank you very much for showing up. Mr. Khalid, the Regional Director, thank you very much. And Mr. Walid, thank you very much. And of course, Mrs. Kanoya Awani, lovely to see you here in Dubai and UAE, and hope to see you more and more. And we're looking forward for that great collaboration and integration. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant good afternoon.
This is a very, very important place here in the country. So we need to thank Dubai Press Club.
Of course, the Dubai Press Club, from the management team and the club itself and the facility itself. We'd like to say thank you for giving us the area and the space for us to host this lovely event. And for everyone who's watching us online, thank you very much for showing up, and thank you for your time. And we wish to see you soon in Egypt and future collaboration on the work. For that said, have a good day and a pleasant day. Thank you.